In this episode of Flea Market Rescue, we're going to take an old bread box that my mom had, and we're going to turn it into a beautiful farmhouse bread box using IOD molds. Then as a bonus, I'm going to show you another way you can do a bread box using vinyl decals. Then we're going to take this tray that I got at the Salvation Army, and although it's very nice, it's very plain, so we're going to add a decal and it's going to look awesome on our stove or wherever we want to put it. And lastly, we'll take this primitive burgundy shelf that we got at the Goodwill and we'll turn it into a gorgeous shelf. So you ready? Let's do this. Before we start, I know a lot of you were asking about my mom, so I have a special message from her to all of you.
I heard you've been asking about me, but I have been quite busy getting ready for a big show. But I'll be back with more trash to treasure. Yeah! So see you later.
So on May 16th, we will be in Chelsea, Michigan as vendors at the Finders Keepers Vintage Market. So if you're going to be in the area, make sure to stop by at the show. We're going to have a lot of great stuff and we would love to meet you in person. Now, on to this week's Trash to Treasure. So I am really excited to use this. This is a new mold by IOD. And I just got it. And we're going to use it on a bread box. I'm going to use the BREAD, and I think it's going to be fun. So let's go ahead and do this. When you're using these molds, you want to make sure that you use cornstarch and really cornstarch them up. Otherwise, whatever you're using usually will stick in there. In my case, I'm using the Magic Sculpt. I love this stuff because it hardens and it's just very durable. So that's what we're going to be using. This is a 2-part epoxy resin, and I will leave a link in the description so you can go ahead and click on it if you want to purchase some. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and start mixing our epoxy. I like wearing gloves when I work with this because this is really sticky and then you get white all over your hands. So I am just going to take a little of each. Not sure how much we're going to need, but you want to take equal parts of the hardener and the sculpting material. Once you have 2 even parts, I think I'm going to get a little more of the hardener. It doesn't quite feel like enough. This should be good. Okay, once you have 2 equal parts, you're going to mix these together. You're just going to squash it. You're going to twist it. And once it turns white, once this gray turns white, you are ready. So I'm just going to keep working on that. And then once it's ready, we'll go ahead and cornstarch our mold up and make our letters. Okay, so our Magic Sculpt is completely white now. And I think we mixed it pretty good. So let's go ahead and cornstarch our mold up. I'm going to take these gloves off now. I'm going to just get this out of the package here. So excited to use this. I've been wanting this. I'm not sure exactly when it did come out, but I know it hasn't been out that long. Okay, so like I said, you really want to make sure that you cornstarch your mold. Otherwise, you're going to have a sticky mess. So let's see. We need to do B, and we're going to need the E and the A. And where's the R? We need an R. There we go. And we also need the D. Okay, so I have these letters all cornstarch up. This is actually a little too much, so I'm going to flip it over. Okay. And we're going to take little pieces of this and we're going to push them in there. I did dip my finger into cornstarch so this would not stick to my fingers. So we're just going to fit that in the E. We'll start with the E here. you just want to smush that in there. And I like to just rub away the excess clay. And well, this is actually epoxy resin, but okay. So that looks like a good E. Let's try it. Let's see what happens. Just carefully bend it back. And hopefully it will come out. Okay, it's a little stretched out. So, you know what, it's a little stretched out, so I'm gonna just push it back in there and pull it back out. So I think that looks pretty good. I'm happy with that. All right, let's try another. How about the B? Okay, I'm just rubbing my finger over the little ridge to get all the excess off. And let's see what happens here. I'm gonna flip that out. I like to bend these back, and it should be nice. Yep, that's nice. Oh, I'm on a little out of screen here. But this is our B. Isn't that cute? So I finished up the rest of the letters, and we're just going to let that dry overnight. I don't know if you remember this, but my mom featured this on one of her Trash to Treasures. At the end, she showed all her thrifting finds and gave you an idea of what you could do. And I asked her if I could go ahead and refinish this for her, and she said, go ahead, I have enough projects. So today, we're gonna go ahead and redo this bread box. Last night, we made some letters, which spell out bread. As you can see, here's all the little letters we made, and we're gonna glue these onto this box. But first, we need to get this box in shape. We're gonna take a little sandpaper to this and sand this down, and I see that there's a little, like, problem right here, so we'll sand that down too. All right, let's get to work. I am just gonna hand sand this. It's not worth pulling out the hand sander or the palm sander. You just want to get that nice and flat, which it is. Perfect. And then let's get these geese off here. And we also need to take this little knob off, so I'm going to do that too. Okay, so I am using Paint and Primer in One by Behr, and it's in pure white. This is my go-to can for white. Again, pure white, as you can see. I definitely use this a lot. So we're just gonna go ahead and paint this up here. This is going to require 2 coats, and then we're going to let that dry. Okay, so our box is dry, and now we're going to take our letters and we are going to start to glue them on there. We're going to spell bread. So I want the letters to be about right here, so I'm going to keep a mental note of that. And then we're gonna put this up so it can dry like that. Space them out so it looks good. I think that looks really good. So we're gonna go ahead and glue that down. I probably should take a tape measure and make sure it's correct. So that is about 3.5. No, it needs to go over just slightly. So we've got that. No, still a little more. Oh, no, we were right. We were right to begin with. We gotta move them back. Sorry. That one's 3, and that one's almost 3. Okay. So that looks good. Now I'm gonna go ahead and glue these down. And I always use Titebond when I'm gluing any of this applique onto the furniture. And this is, I would consider this like a furniture piece. So you just put a little glue on the back. This might be a little too much, it's gonna run. This stuff is such good glue. So we're gonna put that down. And I need to wipe that up a little. I don't know if you got to see my dresser video where I did all kinds of beautiful flowers. They look like they were running up the dresser, but that video is a really good video to watch. It's basically the same thing, what we're doing here, except we're doing letters, and I did beautiful flowers on that video. Boy, this thing, you better make sure it's in a good position, because this Titebond, within a few minutes, it's going to be pretty tight. I'm just putting a little glue on the back. We'll let that glue for a little bit. Oops. Yeah, this is looking good. I'm almost out of this glue. That's how much I use it. I love it. I'll put a link in the description so that you can buy some if you want, because if you're going to do any of this applique, I would definitely recommend it. It is just great stuff. Even with woodworking, you know, I do a lot of wood projects, and it's the perfect glue for that. You don't need to worry about things falling off, I'll tell you that. Okay, so I think that is looking really good. We actually could put it down just to see. That's how good this stuff is. And let's make sure it looks a little high on this end. Oh, this one's already almost down. See? All right. Oh, thank goodness. Now that I got the A off, I'm just going to adjust these slightly, and then we're going to let them dry. Okay, so our letters are dry. I'm just going to put a quick coat of white paint over this. I think this looks super cute, and I got this knob at Hobby Lobby. Oops, the little washer fell off. The only thing is, this knob is not going to fit in this hole, so we need to drill a bigger hole. So I'm going to do that right now. Okay, let's see if this will work. Yes, I think it'll be perfect. So I'm just going to screw this in here. I took a Sharpie marker and I did some distressing with it. I didn't really want to sand this because underneath was blue, if you remember, and I didn't want any of that shining through. But I think this bread box came out absolutely gorgeous. I love it. All right, you guys, you know what? I was at the Goodwill and I found this beauty. So this was $8.99 and I think it's well worth it because it has a nice scallop kind of edge. It is also very well made, and we're going to paint this white and we're going to put a nice decal on there. And this is just another way that you can make bread boxes cool again. We're just going to whiz through this because you already know how to paint a bread box because we just finished one up. Okay, so this is definitely going to take 2 coats and then we're going to let that dry. Okay, so our box is a nice crisp white. We are just going to kind of take a little sandpaper and just kind of rough it up a little. Do you see how that's bringing that scallop edge out? It looks so pretty. Okay, so here's the bread decal. I love this font here. It's just such a cute font. So we're gonna put that on there and just gonna go over it with my credit card and peel the transfer tape off. Perfect. All right, now we're gonna line that up. And I'm gonna get my tape measure to make sure that this is perfectly centered. So that's about 3, and this needs to come over a little. Now that looks good. So we're gonna go ahead and take the credit card and go over the lettering, and then we're gonna pull this transfer tape off. Now I bought these new knobs at Hobby Lobby and they're super cute, but guess what? The hole's too small. So I'm gonna need to drill a little bigger hole so that we can put this through and put the new knob on. Look how nice that turned out. I love it and I hope you do too. If you're interested in purchasing some of those little letters that we did in the first bread box or this vinyl decal that says bread, it'll be in my Etsy shop. Not everything that you find at the thrift store needs to be remade over. This is a perfect example. This is absolutely perfect. The wood is just a gorgeous color. I love the handles. These trays are so hot right now, these wooden boards. You put them on your stove. A lot of people love it because it just gives you a little more space. You can add a few decorations on it. They're really hot. And I found this at the Salvation Army for $7.99. Again, it doesn't need anything to be done to it, which is really nice. However, you know me, I've got to add my little special touch. So I think I'm going to put a decal right in the middle just to kind of make it more farmhouse. So I went to work in the Silhouette studio and I made this Rise and Shine Sunshine decal. I think it's so cute and it's going to be the perfect touch. I'm peeling away any extra vinyl and then I'm going to go ahead and weed out any extra pieces inside the letters. After applying transfer tape, I'm going to take my credit card and go over that so that the letters stick to the transfer tape. Have it on the transfer here. And then we're just going to go ahead and center that right in the middle of the board. And it says rise and shine, sunshine. I love that. I think that's just such a happy saying. All right, I got to make sure that it's perfectly lined up. That looks good. I'm just gonna go get my tape measure just to double check. Okay, let's see. We are about 4 inches from that side. And so it looks like it needs to go over slightly. We're just gonna move it over a little bit. And let's remeasure it. See, it looks, no, that's 4 inches there. And only 3 here, so we need to move it over a little. It's always good to make sure that you're on track here. Nothing worse than putting your decal down and finding out that it's just not right. Okay, move it over just slightly. Okay, I think that is on center. Let's make sure top to bottom too. So we've got about 3 here and only 2 there, so it's got to come up slightly to be in the middle there. So we're just going to drag it up a little bit, and I think that's going to be perfect. Okay, so that looks really good there. I think that's a winner. Let's go ahead and start taking our credit card and just kind of rubbing that down onto the board so that the decals stick. Look, I got a nice dog here and there. Of course. It's okay, because once we pull up the transfer tape, it'll be on the transfer tape, not our decal. It's the bad thing about having dogs, but I love my dogs. Okay, so I think this should be good. I'm hoping. All right, let's go ahead and start pulling off our transfer tape. You want to pull it off slowly because if it's not stuck down, you could ruin your letters, and you don't want to do that. You spent all that time working on it. See what I mean? These were not stuck down enough. In that case, you just kind of want to go over it again with your credit card, and it should be fine. There we go. That looks so cute. I love it. So I'm just going to go over this with the credit card one more time just to make sure that this is down. And look how sweet that looks. This decal will be available in my Etsy store as well. Now on to our last project. So last night when I was making the bread letters, I decided to go ahead and make some birds and also some welcome letters. I guess you can say I went a little crazy with my molds. But I had an idea for this shelf and I thought that it was going to look really awesome. Okay, so we found the shelf at Goodwill and it was only $1.99. So I think that was an awesome find. It's such a cute shelf. The only thing is, it is burgundy, that primitive burgundy. And that was like in the 2000s. And right now it's 2021. So it's a little outdated. So we're gonna go ahead and paint this shelf white. And if you remember last night, we made those birds and then we also made little letters to spell out welcome. We're gonna put that along here. I think it's gonna be so cute. But first, we have to paint this white. So let's get started. I'm using my go-to white. It's the Paint and Primer in One Bare, and the color's pure white. So let's just quickly paint this.
We're definitely going to need 2 coats.
Okay, so our shelf is now painted. I think it looks really nice, white and crisp. So I'm gonna just get some of the things we worked on last night. I have this bird we could put there. I have another bird that we could put on the opposite end, and I think that would look really cute. And then we worked on letters. We have a W, an E, an L, C, O, M, and E. So we can kind of just space them out in the correct position so that they're kind of centered. And then I'm going to use that Type Bond, and we're going to glue these down. I think this looks just gorgeous. So I'm going to take the Type Bond right now, and I'm going to glue that in position. Here's our Type Bond. I'm just going to turn it a little towards me just so that I can make sure that it is in fact looking good. And we'll glue that, and then we'll just let that dry for a little bit, and we'll come back and do our magic on it.
Okay, now that everything is dry and the letters are on there really good, we're going to use some of this graphite paint, and we're going to get in the letters. We're going to also get into all the detail of the birds, and I know this looks a little crazy, but we're going for a very vintage look, like it has been painted over and over again, yet you can still see like the previous color. Maybe it was black at one time. It's just going to look really distressed and, again, vintage. I'm just kind of dabbing all that graphite into all the detail, because once we go ahead and paint over it, we want to be able to see all that detail. I'm also going to put that graphite on places where I'm going to sand, because when I do sand, I don't want to see the burgundy. I want to see some of that darkness coming through. And we're just going to let that dry.
Okay, so this is now dry, and now let's go ahead and do our magic. We're just going to take some of this white paint that we used to paint this. Oops, sorry. We're just going to take some of this white paint that we used to paint this, and we're going to go over the letters. You ready? We're going to just kind of we want some of this to we want this to shine through. I'm going to hold that up so you can see. Do the bird. Do you see how the black shows all the detail in the bird?
And it just really outlines the bird too. Okay, I'm just going to continue to keep doing this. We have this other bird. Sorry, that was getting a little heavy. Do you see how that really just makes the letters stand out? And if you think it's too much, you know, you can always just keep going over it until it looks right to you. But you really need this black in here because you want your letters to pop out. Especially if they're going to be hung on the wall, you want to be able to see them.
Now, if you look up close, you can see all the detail in the bird. The welcome is just popping right out, and it has kind of like a vintage look, and that's really what we were going for. That black just really pops out all that detail, and it looks like it's been painted a million times, which really makes it look old. But look at the birds. I love the detail in them, and I think that's just really cool and vintage looking. So the last thing for us to do is just sand the edges and bring out some of that black, and it'll just look more distressed. And here it is, our $1.99 shelf. The birds and the welcome letters will be available in my Etsy store. If you like this episode of Flea Market Rescue and you want to see more episodes like this, make sure to subscribe to my channel and ring the bell. I'm Kelly Sherry, and this has been Flea Market Rescue.